Good morning. Happy Monday, guys. Good morning. I'm working on the water already today. I have a little bit of coffee left, but for those of you that track my mugs, I do have one today, but the coffee is long gone and I'm on to water. There might be a little left in here. So the Pingles had an interesting night because my son in the middle of the night got up, I guess maybe to go to the bathroom or something, I don't know, my 9-year-old Shay. He was asleep, so I'm pretty sure he was sleepwalking, and instead of going to the bathroom, he walked out of the house, and it set the alarm off in the middle of the night, and we thought someone was breaking into our house, when indeed it was just our 9-year-old going outside to use the bathroom instead of going to the bathroom. So all of us, well, except for my 12-year-old, who, swear to God, guys, slept through the whole thing. And it was loud. I mean, our alarm was going off, like, so loud. And Shay, of course, starts crying because he's standing outside, wondering how he got out there. My husband and I are thinking that someone broke into the house, and my 12-year-old is dead asleep. Not even a rollover, like just completely asleep, heard nothing. What a night in the Pingle house, right? Thank goodness it was just Shay, right? So anyway, did you guys have a great weekend? First of all, I want to thank all of you for those of you that supported the program this weekend with my sale. I had discounted it. For those that you didn't know, we did a one-time flash sale of 60% off. Many of you signed up. I cannot wait to see your progress. So I'm very excited. Thank you for your support. Thank you for supporting your own health and making a difference in your health. I think, you really can't do anything more for yourself, anything more beneficial than support your own health. So kudos to all of you, and thank you so much. We are going to talk about a food today, one that maybe some of you have heard of and others maybe not. Good, I'm glad you had a nice weekend. Yes. It was a little bit cloudy over the weekend here in Arizona. It's still blistering hot, but the sun wasn't beating directly on, so we were out riding rollerblades and stuff yesterday. I don't know how my kids do it, but somehow, I guess when you're born in Arizona, you figure it out. All right, today we're going to talk about quinoa. Any of you used quinoa or used it regularly? So a lot of you ask me things like, what supplement should I be taking? Or how do I protect my health, the most? What should I be taking every single day? Well, as you know, I do use supplements, and I use supplements for different situations. But I've always said food can do a lot, right? Just eating the right things can really make a huge difference in your health. And what's nice about that is the more nutrients you're putting in with food, the better baseline nutrient level you have. So when you do need to take something, you won't have to take as much of it because your baseline levels are higher. So I really do encourage you to look at the highly nutritious foods. I talk a lot about when you put something in your mouth, what are you getting out of it? What benefit are you getting from that food? And if you can focus your diet on foods that produce a huge nutritional punch, you will actually feel so much better and set yourself up better for less illness in the future. Yes, thank you, Sue. Kelly, I see that, quinoa, and it's in the title on this thread. It's Quinoa. So, what is it? Right? Some of you don't know, some of you have used it before, so that's great. All right, so if you have a gluten intolerance or celiac disease, it might have been something that you've heard of before, okay? I have some people saying they didn't know how to cook it. I'm going to talk about how to cook it. So, often you're trying to find alternatives to wheat-based products or gluten-free products. That's how most people stumble across quinoa. And it's unfortunate that we have to stumble across it because it really, really is a fabulous food. And I cannot call it a grain because it's actually not, but it's a grain alternative. Okay, so let's talk about it. So what is it? You're probably pretty familiar with rice, right? So the dishes that you use with rice would be a great starting point to swap out for quinoa. Stir fries, even puddings, rice puddings. I did a live a couple weeks ago with my son Shay. We did a quinoa porridge for breakfast. So what I love the most about quinoa is its versatility. You can use it in basically anything. Often I'll make pilafs out of it. So like I'll make the quinoa and I'll add like dried apricots or raisins or green beans or peas or something. You can add vegetables to it. You can flavor it 1,000 different ways. And it's even more versatile than rice, with far more nutrition. I mean, level up on the nutrition, which is what we're going to talk about. What do you get out of it? But it's not actually a grain. And a lot of people don't recognize this. It's a seed, okay? But it's used as a grain replacement, okay? In fact, the Incas called it the mother of all grains. However, it's not really a grain. Sue says it's good in salad. I love it in salads. Great option. So there's even a legend that the Incan emperor would plant the first seeds every year in a ceremony because it was so nutritious and supportive. So it's been used in diets for more than 7,000 years, and it became a superfood or a super grain in more recent years, around the time that we started to recognize that gluten may not be working for everybody, okay? Now it's readily available. It's everywhere. It's in every grocery store. It didn't used to be. Now it is. It's in every grocery store. You can find it in its seed form. You can find it in flour. In fact, I make pastas out of quinoa flour. You can do all sorts of stuff with quinoa flour. You can make muffins. You can make breads. I mean, it's abundant, and its level of protein makes it far more nutritious than using other types of flours. But it's readily available, often found in restaurants now too. I find it regularly, at least here in Arizona. I know here on the West Coast area, we put quinoa in a lot of different things. So definitely one to look at. Very, very easy to make. Okay, I'm going to tell you. 1 part to 2 parts. So if you were doing a cup of quinoa, you would have 2 cups of water. So 1 part to 2 cups. Bring it to a boil, reduce it to simmer, cover it, and let it absorb the water. Usually takes about 10 to 20 minutes. Absorbs the water, you just fluff it with a fork, there you go. What's nice about it from there is you can chill it, and you can use it in salads, you could use it in a breakfast porridge, so you can make it ahead of time. You can serve it hot with roasted vegetables, or if you're a meat eater, roasted chicken. You can put curry sauce over it. You can use things like tahini or tamari, pretty much anything you would use rice. So any recipe you look up that says use rice, you could totally replace it with quinoa, okay? And I have some recipes on my website as well, drpingle.com, as well as in any of the numerous cookbooks that are floating around out there. Okay, like I said, I do love making like a rice pilaf, but a quinoa pilaf, like dried apricots, green beans, peas, and then like some garam masala or cinnamon, mix it all together. Really good, really good. So what makes this seed so healthy? Why should you put it in your diet? Number 1, it is incredibly rich in protein, which we're going to talk about in a second, of how rich it really is. And most people tell me, oh, you can't be vegan, you can't be plant-based because you don't get enough protein. You can get a lot of protein being plant-based, but you have to eat the right plants. Quinoa is essential in somebody that eats a lot of plants or that leans more plant-based because of the nutritional component of it. But it's very rich in protein, more so than an egg, which we're going to talk about in a second. It is ridiculously rich in fiber, something that our country is very deficient in. But in addition to that, it's basically like taking a multi-mineral. It has magnesium, manganese, phosphorus, copper, potassium, zinc, iron, and B vitamins, okay? Due to its unique nutritional profile, there was a 2010 review that stated that quinoa should be considered a functional food due to the fact that it contains numerous vitamins, numerous minerals, fatty acids, and antioxidants that are known to not only support human nutrition, but also to protect cell membranes. Now, if you don't know what a cell membrane does, a cell membrane basically encloses our cell, and it decides what goes in and out of a cell. So it keeps our cells healthy, and it's made out of fat. Okay, people are always anti-fat, but our body actually needs quite a lot of fat to function, but we need good fat. Okay, so A cell membrane, a healthier cell membrane means a healthier human, okay? So you definitely want to always support your cell membrane. Quinoa is great at that. It also contains all 9 essential amino acids, all 9, okay? And it aids in repairing your tissue and your ability to absorb the nutrient in your food. So not only is it highly nutritious, it also helps you absorb other nutrients. Can you believe it? I know, crazy. You were like, I just thought it was a rice replacement, right? All right, so let's break this down. You guys ready? What do you get from a cup of quinoa? And then I'm gonna go eat some. By the way, I wanted to mention, there's a couple different types of quinoa. You may see it as a white, like cream colored quinoa. You can see it in darker versions. There's some brown, black, red. I like to rotate. I like to pick different colors all the time. So whatever is at the store, I use. I know Costco has a very big bag of quinoa that I kind of keep as a staple, and then I mix in some of the red quinoas and things like that with it. They're made exactly the same way. They taste fairly similar, but more different types of minerals. So if you rotate it, you can get even more nutritional benefit. Cool, guys? You guys are quiet over there on Facebook today. I'm still rolling, right? Fiber too. We're going to talk about that, Sue. In fact, let's talk about that now. So 5 quinoa health benefits, although it's kind of 6 because I'm going to combine fiber and protein. But quinoa contains significant amounts of fiber and protein, okay? Let's talk about protein, and then we're going to go into fiber. 1 cup of quinoa contains 8.1 grams of protein. Now let's compare that. That's more than 1 large egg. A large egg has 6 grams of protein. Quinoa is 8.1. A chicken wing has 6.4 grams of protein. Quinoa has 8.1. A cup of brown rice, 5.5 grams compared to quinoa's 8.1 grams, right? And here's the thing, you can eat more of it. You can't eat a ton of chicken wings. It's not necessarily healthy for you to do so. You can eat quite a lot of quinoa, right? But it will also make you feel more full. And I'll talk about that in a second as well. So you won't need as much to feel nutritionally sound. Because quinoa contains all 9 essential amino acids, it is considered a complete protein, okay? It contains twice the amount of protein of common grains, such as wheat and corn, okay? Twice the amount. Crazy. And we need amino acids to repair our tissue. We need amino acids to create neurotransmitters, to build muscle. Like, we need amino acids. We run off that. That's part of our fuel. So to be able to provide 9 essential amino acids in one food is pretty freaking phenomenal. There's not many foods out there that can do that. Quinoa is also, going back to Sue's point, also rich in fiber. Now, fiber is a huge deficiency here in the US. Okay, the RDA for it is about 25 grams per day is what you're supposed to be getting. Quinoa makes up 1/5 of that. It's about 5.2 grams of fiber. So you're going to get a lot of fiber out of that. And when you combine that with everything else, I mean, it's a no-brainer. Fiber is really important for maintaining blood sugar. It's also really important for toxin removal because fiber helps us remove things, so you get better bowel movements. Very important. Helps support digestion, okay? And protein is more of a building block for your muscles, and it helps to regulate your blood pressure. So when you combine those two together, you're a pretty healthy little duck, aren't you? Yep. All right, and I'm not even mentioning the trace minerals that are in the quinoa on top of that. Okay, so it's a great thing. Number 2, this may surprise you, the stat may surprise you, but it doesn't contain gluten, right? And there's a lot of people out there, gluten is bad, gluten is bad. Look, I definitely follow a gluten-free diet. I recommend it for most people, particularly if you have a health condition, or at least a very minimal gluten diet. Why? Because I haven't found any benefit to it. You know, people are like, oh, I tolerate it fine. Okay, but what are you getting out of it? Right? What are you getting out of the gluten? I haven't found any nutrition that benefits me by eating it. And I often find, particularly people with autoimmune disease, thyroid disorders, adrenal fatigue, digestive disorders, flora disorders tend to do worse with gluten. They swell, they bloat, they're more tired. I mean, if you want to put me to sleep, give me some bread. I'm out. Like 10 minutes. I'm a horrible date. Don't take me to an Italian restaurant and fill me full of bread. Not going to work for Dr. Pingle. But Here's something you may not know. So it's estimated, and these are probably low estimates, but we're going to go with the low estimated numbers here. 1% of the US population is considered to have celiac disease, which means they cannot eat gluten. It is toxic to their system. Approximately 6%, and I'd like to speculate many more, are estimated to have gluten sensitivity. But if we use those numbers, that means that almost 23 million Americans have trouble with gluten, at minimum, and probably more. 23 million Americans. That's a lot, right? That's a lot of people. Okay? So it can impact people who also are not sensitive to it as well. What is the purpose for gluten, Lynn? That's a great question. Primarily, it's to hold things together. Okay, so it's to hold the pasta together, hold the bread together. It's a binding agent, basically. Now, there are many other binding agents out there. That's why there's gluten-free breads, right? They found a way to bind things without it. I would love someone to tell me what the nutritional benefit is. I understand the physical benefit to bind it, to make the bread nice and smushy and nice and easy to eat and taste good, but I don't really see a nutritional benefit to it. So, I'm all about, if you're going to take a bite and put something in your mouth, how much nutrition are you getting out of it? It's glue, exactly. It's kind of like the glue. But there are also gluten-free glues out there as well. Xanthan gum is one of them. You can use eggs, you can use chia seeds, you can use a lot of other things as a binder. But 23 million people in US estimated on the low end affected by gluten. In 2009, I'm going to talk about some studies. In 2009, there was a study that revealed that substituting alternative gluten-free grains, and they used such as quinoa, in place of other gluten-free foods like rice. So they looked at the comparison between using quinoa versus rice, and they found that thanks to its nutritional profile, those that consumed quinoa in place of rice significantly increased their nutrient absorption. Get this, it doubled their intake of protein, increased their iron intake by almost 18-fold, increased their calcium intake, and improved their B vitamin intake from switching from rice to quinoa. And it's made the same way. It's not gonna be hard to make, right? And you just substitute it in the recipes. That's pretty crazy, isn't it? Just one little food. So are you starting to see why this is a superfood? I'm gonna add to this. Number 3. Contains anti-inflammatory and antiviral properties. Yes, I said anti-inflammatory and antiviral. Okay, I'm not saying it's curative, but what I am saying is any foods you can eat that benefit your body from getting sick are a win to me. Okay, so, and this is in studies, mostly from the flavonoids that are found in the quinoa, the antioxidants in the quinoa. And quinoa contains a very large amount of quercetin. Had any of you heard of quercetin? Quercetin is what you find in onions. It's used a lot in allergy therapies, and people who get sick a lot, they use quercetin to lower that histamine response and to improve their immune function. So quercetin is a food-based nutrient. It's found in foods. Red onions are very abundant in it, so is quinoa. Okay, so you can take capsules of quercetin if you want, or you can just incorporate more foods with quercetin on a daily basis. And then in the event that you get sick or you have allergy season, you can take a little bit extra in capsule. But there was a 2016 study where they found that quercetin was incredibly effective at inhibiting certain strains of influenza A. It was particularly effective in the earlier stages of the virus, including the moment of viral attachment, the time in which the virus enters the cell, and even during the viral cell fusion point. So as a virus comes in, it attaches to the cell, right? It gets into the cell, and that's where it infects. So quercetin acted on all of those spots, which is pretty amazing, right? And there was another study on 60 participants, and they found that supplementing with quercetin, so this was a supplement study, but same nutrient, there was 500 milligrams of quercetin with 250 milligrams of vitamin C, reduced both oxidative stress and inflammatory markers in people. Okay, so if you're incorporating foods that have these nutrients in them, you don't have to take as many pills, right? Or you can save it for when you do get sick, you can add in extra. Eating well will protect your body from inflammation and regular illness. Okay. There was a 2018, this was an animal study, but they looked at quinoa and gut microbial imbalance. Okay, so in inflammatory bowel disease, there's a lot of bug shifts, right? You have overgrowth of bacteria in the gut, and they were studying the impact of quinoa on intestinal health. Okay, and they found that it helped calm the inflammation in animals with inflammatory bowel disease. So pretty cool, right? That's pretty cool. Did you guys know that? All that info? Is this new? Or are you guys like, yeah, okay, Dr. Pingle? What brand of quinoa do I recommend? I just recommend an organic quinoa. There are so many brands. So, yeah, just check your grocery store and see what you can find. All right, number 4, it promotes satiety and it helps cut back on in-between meal snacking. So I have a lot of people that start to clean up their diet. I've had people that have done my program and start to clean up their diet and they're like, I'm so hungry. You know, because it's hard when you go from eating wheat-based breads and all these heavy carbs and you go to not eating them, your body has to adjust to that. Quinoa is essential in that. If you can add quinoa into more of your meals, you actually find that you won't be as hungry, okay? There's for a couple of reasons of this. First of all, there are several studies that connect higher fiber consumption with lower rates of obesity, right? Obesity is huge. In our society, right? So we need to start paying attention to that and the foods that we can eat to lower that risk. You're welcome, guys. I'm seeing lots of questions over there. I'll come back to you, Sue. Hang on. There was a study that showed that eating fiber helps you to feel full longer, right? Cuts down your likelihood of overeating. There was a study that compared this effect between foods like oat, buckwheat, and quinoa, and they compared it to wheat products and rice, okay? And what they did is they looked to see who was full and who wasn't. And they found that the subjects that ate the oats, the buckwheat, and the quinoa had greater satiety than those who ate the wheat and rice-based products. In fact, those that ate white bread were hungry really quickly afterwards. They made a noted that. They said they were hungry a lot sooner than anything else. So white bread will make you more hungry. Why? Right? Because it doesn't have any nutritional profile in there. The body's not getting anything from it. It's not happy. So if you find you eat something and then right away you're craving more food, you're not eating enough nutrient density. Our body craves nutrients. That's what it wants. Nutrients are what help us, right? So the more nutrient dense foods you eat, like quinoa, avocado, sweet potatoes for many, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, anything with a lot of minerals, things with good fatty acids like nuts, seeds, these will all help you stay full longer. Even things like kale. Have you ever tried eating a salad with kale and then eating a salad with romaine? You're hungry after the romaine one. With the kale one, you're stuffed, right? 2 different greens, different nutritional profiles, right? The romaine is full of a ton of water, not a lot of nutrient. Kale is ridiculously nutrient dense. So it provides more to the body, okay? Kind of cool. All right, number 5, and then I'm gonna let you guys go about your day and make some quinoa. Number 5, it contains antioxidants that are known to fight chronic disease. Now, we talked about this impact on inflammatory markers. We talked about it on viruses or your immune system, but also quinoa contains a nice amount of vitamin E, which is an antioxidant that we all know and have probably heard about that helps to fight certain cancers and heart disease. And quinoa is also a really good food for manganese. Now, who's heard of manganese? So manganese is one of those trace minerals that many people don't think about, but it actually has a huge benefit in our body. It's required for proper brain development, it maintains the health of our cells, and it helps to fight those free radicals that can cause cancer and other diseases. Okay? And these diseases could be anything from cancer to autoimmune disorders to cardiovascular disease and even neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, MS, okay? Minerals are really, really, really important. And minerals, going back to the beginning of this, we were talking about the cell membrane and how having a nice healthy cell so that minerals and water can go in and out is so pivotal. It really is. Proper hydration and proper minerals are so incredibly important for the health of your cell. If you don't have that, you're not going to have the benefits from these foods. So imagine a nice, how can I relate this? Let's see. Imagine like a nice, healthy, plump cell, okay? And now imagine it like all shriveled up, like it's not round anymore, right? You're not going to get as many nutrients in that way. Our cell membranes are made of fats, they're made of water, and we need them to be nice and plump so that we can absorb these beautiful minerals from foods. Quinoa has been shown to assist with that, and that's what makes it such a powerhouse, and it's awesome, okay? Additionally, there was a study in 2014, which was on almost 4,000 participants, and it revealed that manganese levels were significantly lower in those with diabetes than those without diabetes. And on the diabetes front, diabetics are notoriously low in minerals to begin with. Low in magnesium, often imbalanced potassium levels, low in zinc, that's a big one, low in manganese, all those trace minerals. And it's because the health of the cell isn't good, right? Not a healthy cell in a diabetic. So, or type 2 diabetic. So, any foods that a diabetic can eat that provide all of those extra minerals and nutrition, the better. Quinoa is something you need to add to your diet. If you've never tried it, give it a try. I'll repeat. It's 1 part to 2 parts water. So if you do 1 cup of quinoa, you would do 2 cups of water, bring it to a boil, reduce it to simmer, and cover it with a lid. I was asked if I've ever done it in a pressure cooker. I haven't. I've done it in a rice cooker, which I suppose is similar. I know you absolutely can use a pressure cooker. To be honest, the rice cooker took forever, and when I did it on the stove, it was like 15 minutes. When I did it in the rice cooker, it seemed to take forever. So I just been doing it on the stove lately. If cooked and stored in the refrigerator, how long is it good? I would say a good, you can smell it and see. I would say a good 4 or 5 days probably, Kathy. I know I've done that, and I'll add it to my salad, or I'll make a morning porridge out of it, or I'll, if you have a nice kale salad, adding quinoa to that is a nice addition. And then you can just reheat it, I have a steam oven to reheat it. I'm not a huge fan of a microwave, but you know what? You got to do what you got to do sometimes. So you just do what you can. If you can heat it on the stove or steam, or, that would be better. I have another, Pat over here on Instagram is saying she's made the quinoa in the pressure cooker. So there you go. Thank you, Pat. I really appreciate it. I try to do it the fastest way possible because I'm a mom, so it's like I don't have time all the time to sit around and wait for my rice cooker. That's one of my biggest complaints about a rice cooker, is it has no timer. You never know when it's going to be done. It's like you're just at the mercy of it. Where on the stove, at least you can kind of peek in and look. So just to review, these health benefits of quinoa: contains significant amount of fiber and protein. Once again, 1 cup of quinoa contains more protein than a cup of brown rice and more protein than 1 large egg, okay? In a seed, okay? Has a fantastic amount of fiber to help with satiety and to help with weight management and to help with the cardiovascular system. It does not contain gluten. In fact, it's not even a grain. It's a seed, but you use it in place of a grain, okay? And once again, it's estimated, and this is minimal, 23 million Americans have trouble with gluten at the low end. I'm sure there's more than that. 23 million. We're spending a lot of days talking about how many millions of people have this or don't have this, right? So when I talk about 23 million people having trouble with gluten, we need to pay attention to that, okay? Contains anti-inflammatory properties, antiviral properties, promotes satiety, cuts back on meal snacking, and contains antioxidants and minerals that are known to fight disease. Pretty cool. So, anyway, I just lost Facebook. But that's okay. We were at the end of it. So Instagram, great to see you. I hope this was helpful to you. I will be back tomorrow, as I usually am, at 9:15 Pacific Standard Time. Thank you to all of you for being here, and have a fabulous day. Thank you so much. Bye-bye now.